Hello, NSCS members from all over the country. My name is Holly Barkley, and I'm the Director of Chapter and Member Experience. It's my pleasure to introduce Vanessa, our NLC chapter, our NLC president. So Vanessa, take it away.
Hi everyone. We're so happy that you guys were able to make the webinar. We are super excited and have a lot in store for you. My name is Vanessa Lopez, and I am truly honored to be with you all here tonight. I'm the president of the National Leadership Council and the chapter president of the City College of New York. In today's special webinar, we have a very, very special guest, and I am honored and delighted to present our guest speaker, Marlo Lyons. Marlo has spent more than 20 years inspiring, motivating, and empowering people to excel in their careers and businesses. Marlo's own career transitions from TV news reporter to entertainment law to HR business partner to career executive and team coach has helped her develop her career transition strategies, which has been used by thousands of people globally forge their career trajectory. Marlo is a regular contributor to the Harvard Business Review and Newsweek and has been featured in numerous international publications and podcasts. Her award-winning book, Wanted: A New Career and Wanted: My First Career on Amazon and Audible, is truly amazing. I highly recommend this book, and I'm so excited to be speaking more in regards to that. So, Marlo, thank you so much again for your time, and we welcome you. Please, everyone, show Marlo some love. We're so grateful for your time. Thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it. It's awesome being here. It really is. And so thank you for having me, everybody. I am super excited to talk to you today. I'm going to cover five big tips for landing your first job in a fulfilling career. I hope you find these tips helpful. And they're very detailed, so it's not just five quick tips. And once we get through that, then I think Vanessa has some questions for me. And you guys can please ask questions, throw them in the chat. I'm sure they will read them off to me, and I'm happy to answer anything you want. Okay, so here we go, everybody. First, a little bit about me. You just heard a lot about me, but here's a little bit more detail about why I'm speaking to you today. Well, life isn't linear. Your career after college doesn't have to be linear either, and in fact, most people's aren't. I went to the George Washington University. I majored in political communication because my father thought that that would be a great school to go to. And so he thought it was a prestigious major. And so I became a journalist and I wound up working at interning in multiple places, CBS, NBC, CNN, and it looked like fun. So I became a TV news reporter and I worked there in a TV news role for more than a decade. And then the commercial internet started, and I'm sorry that I'm dating myself a little bit, but the internet started, and after 10 years, I decided, nobody's going to watch TV news anymore. So I decided to go to law school. I graduated, and I started working in reality television. I'm sure you know some of these shows. And I was doing background checks, psych, medical, immigration, foreign travel, child labor, safety, security on all your favorite reality stars. And so from there, I got bored. I know that sounds shocking that I was bored, but I decided to get certified in HR and certified in coaching. And I became an HR business partner for about 6 years. I worked at Roku and then Intuitive Surgical, so across different industries. And I had a coaching side hustle for about a decade. And then I pursued coaching full time, which I've been doing for a little over 2 years. So I've been coaching for over a decade, but full time for about 2 years outside of a corporation, except my own. So now, what do I do? So I'm working with people at all levels of their career, but mostly executives. And when I work with executives, I had a book that came out called Wanted: A New Career. I've worked, as I told you, both as an employee, I was a manager and a leader. And I've been in HR as well as a business leader. So I've been on both sides of the fence. And all of those leaders kept saying to me, "Do you have anything for my kids who are in college?" And so that was the impetus for writing Wanted: My First Career, which is a book for college students, which Vanessa was just talking about. It was a finalist in an award competition, and it really is for college students. So that's where it was born. It came out in 2025. And in that book has all the tips that we're going to talk about today with much more detail and examples. So I'm going to give you the tips, and if you want more details, you can pick up the book. All right. So this may sound obvious. We're going to talk about tip number one. Know what you want to do. Now, I know that sounds obvious. You're like, gee, thanks. Well, But before you start job searching, you have to understand what is important to you. What are your interests, your strengths, and your values? What do I actually want? Because companies can tell instantly when a candidate just really doesn't know what they want to do, they just want to work. And they don't want people who just want to work. They want people who want to work for them doing a specific job. And if you build a resume without knowing what you want, it's going to look scattered. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So you have to know what you want to do, and you look at your interests, your strengths, and your values in order to do that. What topics interest you? What do you gravitate to? What are you good at? And what matters to you in the workplace? Creativity? Is it stability? Is it solving problems? And the next thing you want to think about is what types of problems do you want to solve? Because we're not talking about job titles, but what do you want to actually solve? Do you want to look at the business? Do you want to be a business analyst? Do you want to solve marketing problems? Then maybe you're a marketing associate. But you have to know what you want to do and what kind of problems you want to solve. That will help you figure out what kind of career you want to go into. You also need to understand what energizes you, what drains you, because your energy will be the best career compass to make sure that your career aligns with your passions and aligns with your values. And when you walk away from an activity, I mean, think about something you love, whether it's soccer or football or whatever it is, and you're energized. You're like, yeah, I want to do that again. That's how you want to walk into the workplace. You don't want to walk in like, oh, I don't want to be there, right? So energy is huge in determining what you want to do and how you feel excited, curious. Are you proud of what you're doing? It's definitely a huge clue. Then you want to explore roles, not titles, that match your strengths. And you want to explore what kind of things out there kind of match what I'm interested in doing. And you find the role. Don't look at the titles, because you might find something that says director. Well, director is about 10 years of experience in most places. But you're looking for just things that make you go, oh, yeah, that's something I want to be doing. That looks really exciting to me. And then you match your strengths to that. And then the most important thing you can do, the most important thing, is to talk to people. Informational interviews are the most powerful way to learn about what a job is really like. I was just talking to a college student this week from University of Wisconsin, and she was thinking she wants to go into consulting, was trying to figure out what kind of internship to do this summer. So I hooked her up with somebody in business strategy, somebody in market insights, and somebody in brand marketing, all three, to figure out, which of those three things could lead me into consulting and business strategy. So you have to talk to people, and those could be your parents' friends, your friends' parents, your aunt, uncle, cousin, relative. It doesn't matter, but that will help you really understand what the job really is. Because my kids right now, who are teenagers, say, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. And I can promise you, they have no idea what that even means, what the type of work really is. Okay. So tip number 2, build a compelling personal brand. Once you know your story, because you have to know what you want, that's who you are and what you bring. Because employers, again, are looking for candidates for these entry-level roles, and they're not looking at your grades. I promise you, they really don't care about your grades. And they're really not looking at where you interned. They're looking for a clear sense of who you are, what you're great at, and how you're going to show up. Those are the most important things. Your personal brand is simply the story that you're going to tell. Whether it's on paper, on your resume, it's online, it's in person, it's the story that you're going to tell, and you're going to answer these questions. You want to answer, what are my strengths? What motivates me? What do I value? What do I bring to a team? All of those things we just talked about in tip number 1. And remember, you already have a brand, right? Your goal is to shape that intentionally so employers understand the best version of you. And you're going to highlight that with real examples, right? Examples of what you've actually done. Because anybody can write the words, I'm hardworking, I'm a team player. You put those on your resume, but they want to hear it in action. So they want to hear you talk about the project that you led in a club, or the data you analyzed for a professor, or the social media post that tripled engagement, or the time you solved a really messy problem during an internship, or how you collaborated with your team members on a project. These stories become powerful proof of what you can do. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your cover letter all tell the same story. Too many students treat these as separate documents. They're not. They all work together as one big package. Your resume should show your accomplishments and be forward-looking. That means that not everything you've ever done. It should only showcase information that's relevant. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And your LinkedIn should bring in your personality a little bit, bring it to life. Your About section, you want to use it. We're going to talk about that in just a second, how you use it. And you want to demonstrate, this is where you can really talk about things that wouldn't go on your resume, like maybe volunteering experiences or civic experiences, or maybe you've run 25 marathons. That's where you show your personality, is on your LinkedIn. And here's something that employers also care about. You can also showcase projects and internships and your campus leadership. It's really about your whole online presence. So I also want you to think about Googling yourself because we want to make sure that you clean up anything out there. Maybe your Instagram has too many pictures of you with a beer in your hand, right? So you want to clean up your online presence just enough to make sure that the employer knows that you're serious about being serious about having a job, right? Because your personal brand is about being clear. It's about putting it all together. It's being consistent. It's being authentic, but it's also being somebody who wants to have a job, right? And wants to be working. So those are the things on tip number 2 about building your compelling brand. And how you do that is you examine 5 to 7 job descriptions in your chosen field, and you highlight job descriptions for keywords and skills. And you include as many keywords in your resume as you can. Don't worry, I'm going to explain what keywords are in just a second. You only want to include, this is what I said earlier, you only want to include those skills and experience and accomplishments that relate to the career. It's not everything you've ever done. So you're looking for similarly situated positions. You're looking for jobs out there that you want to be doing, no matter what level it is, and you're looking at the keywords. So let me pull up this. This is a great example of keywords. This is an HR generalist role for the MBA. All the keywords are highlighted in pink. As you can tell, I like pink. These are skills, experience, expertise. This is what the ideal candidate will have. And you're like, well, I haven't done all that, right? Of course you haven't done all that because you haven't worked full-time yet. And that's okay. You don't have to have all of them, but you want to identify what are those keywords. And you can see on here, it's new hire orientation, it's training on company policies, it's customer service, right? These are the words that need to be in your resume. Now, if you don't know how to find keywords, I'm all about AI. Use AI. Pop in the job description and tell them the type of job that you're looking for and ask it to give you the keywords. You can ask it to give you keywords on a job description, or you can say, give me all the keywords for an HR generalist role. It'll come close enough. I promise you, it will. Now, how do you use those keywords? Well, I want to show you this resume. This is a resume from a student who's working his way through school. Okay, this is a real resume. He works at a major retail store, and he's an associate manager. And on his resume are his main job responsibilities. You can see these are his current job responsibilities. And you can see it's about maintaining a store appearance and stocking shelves and operating a cash register, collaborating with others, that type of thing, right? But he wants to work in HR. Not a whole lot of HR on there. There's no HR keywords on there, actually, in his whole resume. This is what he does, but it's not forward-facing. It's not forward-looking as to what he wants to do. And he did actually do some work in HR. He did do some. So we rewrote his resume. This is how he now brands himself as an HR associate. This is what I call a forward-looking resume. He can't change his title in his current job. He's still working, or he was working there. He now is working in HR. But he could focus his resume on HR, the job he wants moving forward. So are these the main part of his job? No. All those other things were the main part of his job. My point is that your resume may only contain 1% of what you actually did, but that is what's relevant to the job that you want. You only want the experience, the skills, and accomplishments that are relevant to the job you want on your resume. And see how the titles are underlined? It's really great to do this because recruiters are only looking at your resume for about 7 seconds. They scan it down, they scan it up, that's it. They don't read anything. So highlighting responsibilities and those keywords, those are all keywords that are highlighted, is key. So they can say, oh, good, he's done some customer service, done some onboarding, great policies. Oh, good, performance. He's not good. They're not going to read all this. They're just not. Okay. So how many keywords do you think are in this resume? Take a guess in your head. Just think about it. 10%, 15%, 50%. What do you think from the keywords that I showed you from that job? There you go. That's how many keywords he got into his resume when we looked at it from an HR lens. So you're building your resume based on the lens of the job that you want, not based on the experience, all the experience that you have. You only want to fit in the experience that's relevant. Okay. Also building a personal brand. This is how you build your LinkedIn. So you have to be the thing you want to be. This is my niece, actually, Tali. So say hi to Tali. Remember, your entire resume is positioned to be the certain career. Tali's in her second job right now. She's an international media planner at the NBA. And you can see she has her title there. But if you are new, you who don't have a job yet, or you're looking for your first job, you could put entry level. Say you want to be a sports analyst, entry level sports analyst, entry level international media planner, sports broadcaster, event coordinator. You can actually put the name of the title that you want to be, or you can put entry level, name of title. Okay, you will be it. But remember, you're positioning yourself, and all your whole brand is going to look like you are that thing because you have some experience doing it. You definitely don't want to say that you're a doctor if you're not a doctor, right? But if you have actual experience doing a job through internships, then you want to be the job. You are not, this is the one thing you are not. You are not the name of school graduate. You are not University of Wisconsin graduate. No, 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 no. That doesn't tell me what kind of job you want. Okay? That's backward looking. Doesn't matter what school you went to. I'm sorry, but it really doesn't. Unless you're going to be in finance, then maybe you have to be in a top 10 school. So what you want, what you're bringing to the table, that's what you're doing in your branding. And you also want a clean background. Now you can see here, she has the New York skyline. She lives in New York. You can put, I like geometric shapes. You can find them on Canva, super easy, free Canva account, create a little geometric shape background, totally fine. And you'll see professional picture. Professional picture is against a plain backdrop. You're not in front of trees. You're not in your prom photo from high school or in your fraternity photo. You're just a plain photo. And you can see she has from her chest up. You can do from shoulders up. You can do from chest up. Anything's fine. If you wear glasses, wear glasses. If you don't wear glasses, don't wear glasses. You want it to look professional. Put on makeup if you're a female. Look, just look presentable, and look inviting. She looks very inviting, like somebody you want to work with. Okay. Now, as for the rest of LinkedIn, this is that about section I was just talking about. You can find it under the 3 dots under your name because it doesn't automatically pop up on your LinkedIn profile. So under your name to the right a little bit, there's 3 dots and you can say add section and you want to add the about section. And in that section, you're going to put a sentence about who you are and you're going to list your skills in that sentence. See the sentence here, data-driven and analytical sports analyst with knowledge in statistical modeling, performance evaluation, and predictive analytics, leveraging tools like to interpret complex sports data and deliver actionable insights. That just told me what skills you have using certain technologies. You understand how to do some modeling and some evaluation, some predictive analytics because you did that in your internship. Wow, that's pretty powerful. And this is somebody who hadn't graduated yet. So you pick the skills and you're going to add them. And then you're going to add right underneath that in the about section, all your skills. Now, why are you going to do this when there's a skills section on LinkedIn? You're going to do this because the algorithm, the more times it shows up, the algorithm picks you up quicker than it will pick up somebody else. So you're still going to list all the skills that you have. And then these same skills you're going to tag under the skills section. And you're going to tag it under each job. Okay? So under experience, you're going to copy and paste your resume bullets. Under skills, you're going to pick all the skills that you want. Ask all your friends to endorse you for the skills. That's awesome. And then put them underneath your experience. And then this is a key. This is super key. References. Ask if you're in a D1 sports or whatever sports you're playing, ask your coach to write one for you. Any former internship managers. I don't always say professors unless you worked for a professor because they don't really know how you worked in the field. But what you want to do is you want to not just say, hey, can you write me a reference? Because let me tell you something. Nobody remembers what you did. They love you, but they don't remember what you specifically did. They've probably had 2 other interns since you. So what you want to do is you want to go into LinkedIn under the references section. You want to click request reference, and you're going to write the email. Hi, Joan Smith. This is your former internship manager. I'm writing to ask if you'd write me a reference for LinkedIn. I wrote a paragraph below to demonstrate what I'm looking for. Write exactly what you want them to say. Okay? Then you write, feel free to edit or use as a guide. I can promise you know what they're going to do? They're going to copy and paste it and hit reference because they don't have time and they're busy. So you want to make sure you include those hard skills and soft skills. Be very strategic. Don't write the same thing to every person and try to get 3 different references. Maybe somebody talks about how you collaborate and how you communicate well and how you listen to all perspectives. That is awesome. Maybe somebody else writes about how you were really good with SQL and R and Python. Great. Now you've got hard skills and soft skills. You can go on my website and see references from me that I probably wrote for friends and other people, colleagues. I didn't write all of them, but I can specifically look at one. I think it's still there from Brenda Madden, who was a former journalist like me. And I wrote that for her, and then she edited it in her own voice. And you can see how I linked that to, back then I was a lawyer trying to move into HR, and I linked it to being in HR. Okay. So you want to make sure it references the career you want to be in. Okay. Again, it all is one big brand. It's all coming together. Now, that was a long tip number 2. So we're going to move to tip number 3. Okay. Networking the smart way. Networking. I know everybody hates networking, but networking is not asking people for jobs. Networking is simply about building relationships. It's about being curious. It's about learning from people who they are and what they do. That's it. Everyone in your class, everyone in your fraternity, your sorority, your sports, your clubs, they are all relationships. They're not just friends, they are relationships. So everybody in your major, they're not competition. They are relationships because many of them will graduate before you and they will be working. Most students believe that networking means forcing these like really awkward conversations or sending messages that feel really cringy. But the truth is, the smartest networking is actually pretty natural. And it's the single biggest accelerator of your career through your entire career. If you remember anything from this presentation, remember this. Every person you meet in your first job, through every job you have, is a relationship. I have a new book coming out next week called Wanted Aboard Career. I just sent an email to, ready for this one? 582 relationships. Not friends, relationships. People that I've worked with, people that I'm looking for support from. So you want to start with your professors, your internship supervisors, your coaches, your club leaders, your families, your friends, your parents' friends, your friends' parents, alumni, recent graduates, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters. They're all relationships. And these are people who are most likely to open a door for you because they've seen your work ethic, they know your character, maybe they've even seen you grow up, right? And they know your commitment. And they simply might just like you personally, and they want to help you, right? So one of the most powerful tools you can use when you're doing this is informational interviews. It's a 15 to 20-minute conversation. This is how you can build a relationship. And the best part about it is you don't have to answer much. You're asking questions. You're trying to learn. You're being curious. And you're trying to understand what someone actually does in their job. What do they do every day? What skills matter in the role? How did they get there? Students who do informational interviews, they're the ones who gain the insights. They're the ones who build the confidence, and they gather language that they can use in resumes and interviews. You might hear keywords that they're using in that informational interview that you should be putting in your top sentence on your resume, or that you will repeat when you're interviewing. And here's the part that most people forget. Okay? Keep on track. You got to keep track and stay in touch with your relationships. You've got to follow up. Remember, relationships are not one and done. Your goal is to keep in touch and update people on your progress. Remember that person I told you who I just introduced to 3 people? She wrote me an email today, told me she already met with 2 of them and they were super helpful and she's really looking forward to meeting with the 3rd one, and wrote me just an update. But she didn't write me, how are you doing? What's going on with you? I don't have time to answer that, right? She's just keeping me updated. And I love that. I love hearing from people, right? And how they're doing. So why does all of this matter? Well, because 80% of jobs are filled through connections. And I don't mean connections like, oh, my dad knows someone. I mean relationships that you've built. They're not job boards. When someone knows your name and they know your story and they know your resume, you move to the top of the pile. And that is the power of networking your entire career. And it starts now, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, it does not matter. Everybody's a relationship. Make sure you stay in touch with people. Okay, How do you keep in touch with people? Because we were like, well, I don't want to bug them, right? And I hear this a lot from Gen Z specifically. I don't want to bug people. You're not bugging anybody by letting them know, by keeping them updated. Here's how you can do it. When you can write a quick email. Hey, I just want to let you know I settled on my career of choice. As I mentioned to you, I was looking at 3 different careers. I've decided to go this direction. If that person happens to be in that direction, great. You finish and pass a certification exam. You finish a directly relevant course, and maybe you're wondering how the theory applies to real work. Don't be too needy. Again, most executives don't have all the time to answer all your questions. But if you're at a holiday party or you're at a summer swim party and you're sitting next to somebody who happens to work in the field that you're interested in, that is a great opportunity to ask about how the theory of coursework applies to the work that they do. You go back to a master's program, you notice that your contact is connected to a hiring manager, that you're really interested in a job. You're visiting your town that your specific contact is in. You wish the contact, you can always wish them a happy holiday over the holidays, the winter holidays, and also hope you have a great summer. Hope you get some time off to relax. You graduated from college, now you're on the job hunt, but remember, you're not going to ask them for a job because guess what? They're not doing your job hunt for you. You're doing it. So you never want to say to somebody, if you hear of anything, let me know. No, 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 no. You're doing the job hunt. You're owning it. Okay. You want to give an update every 6 months or so. You're in your final interview for a position and you want any final advice. I get those a lot from people. I get those from executives, by the way, in the C-suite, which is the highest level you can be. The executives ask me, do I have any final advice? Or you accept a new role. When you accept a new role, that is an awesome opportunity to write to every single contact you have and just say, hey, I just want to let you know, I got a new role. I'm so excited. Here's when I'm going to be starting. If you have any final advice before I onboard, blah, 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 right? And then every 6 months, keep in touch because you don't know when that role is going to disappear. You don't know when the business strategy is going to change. You don't know when that person that you keep in touch with either takes a job at your company or goes and moves somewhere else. And you're building relationships within that company as well, because people do not stay at the same company. They could be in all sorts of places. I worked at Roku once, and I can tell you they're scattered everywhere from Google to PayPal they're everywhere. NBC, they're all over the place now. So you want to keep in touch because you don't know where they're going to be, and they might have a position open. And if they know how great you are and how wonderful they are, they may want to hire you. Okay. Now let's get real on tip 4. Get real world experience early. I'm going to caveat this with, if you are in sports, I know that sports takes up every ounce of your being. So I get that. Okay. But internships, micro internships, volunteer roles, these are super important. I think what I find is one of the biggest myths that students believe is that you need to have a full summer internship at a big name company to have any real experience. And that is just not true. Employers aren't looking for perfection. They're not looking for names of companies. They are looking for evidence that you've applied skills, solved problems, and collaborated with others and taken initiative. That's what they're looking for. And the good news is you can get that anywhere, and you can get it in a bunch of different ways. Campus jobs, they build transferable skills, side projects, passion projects, shadowing, short-term work. All of those will help you build experience. And experience is what proves your potential. Think about it, if you're working in the student center managing events because you're doing work study, well, you're building project management skills, you're building communication skills, you're building customer service skills. Say you do tutoring on the side, well, you're developing leadership and patience and the ability to explain complex ideas clearly. Employers value those skills just as much as they value a traditional internship. So another powerful way to gain them is to do a passion project. If you happen to design your own website or design a website for a club, or you start a social media page for a club or a fraternity that promotes your creativity, or you create a podcast, or you build a data dashboard for fun, all of that counts. Everything counts. Projects show initiative, creativity, and ownership. And sometimes those projects actually stand out more than the formal roles that you had because they reflect who you are and what you care about. You can also shadow professionals for a day or two if you don't have time. Again, if you're in sports or doing other things, or you're working and you have to work at McDonald's and you're like, oh gosh, but I really want to work in, marketing, but I'm working serving food. That's fine. Maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, you can shadow somebody. It's very simple to set up. You have to reach out to people. You have to be curious, ask a couple questions. And by the way, if you are working at McDonald's or you're working in fast food or anything, every single person that walks in that door is a potential relationship. I kid you not. right? It's how you create the conversation. Okay. Tip number 5, create a job search strategy. Super important. Applying for jobs is not a spray and pray project, meaning you don't spray your resume to every single opening out there and pray that somebody sees it. That is not being strategic or intentional. First, you want to quickly research each company. Just understand it as best you can in the moment before you apply. Do I even want to work for this company? Maybe the company's in bankruptcy. Maybe you don't, right? So try to understand, is this a company that feels good to me? Does it align with my values? And then you want to prepare your what I call start stories. And those start stories are your subject, I'm sorry, your situation, your task, your action, your result. And I always add an extra T. That's why it's in parentheses for your takeaways. That's where you connect all the dots together of what you've done to the job that they're interviewing for. And when you connect all of that, these stories paint a picture of your capabilities and they're far better than any buzzwords ever could. So you want to practice your interview skills. You definitely want to practice out loud. There are lots of AI programs out there where you can practice and it'll score you. Go for it. You want to try one of those? Go for it. It's great. Otherwise, you can use a friend, you can use a parent. And you want to answer the common questions. Those common questions are, tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Walk me through your resume, right? You want to be able to know how to answer those. Each of these have nuances, and I do have examples of each one in the book, Wanted My First Career, okay? But keep in mind that many students overlook the enthusiasm part and the curiosity part and the coachability part. They matter so much more, especially for entry level, than any experience does. If you are enthusiastic, if you want the job, if you are curious, you have great questions at the end, you will leave an impression. And employers want to hire people who are eager to learn. They want to hire people who ask those smart questions, who use critical thinking, who genuinely care about the work, and they want to work at their company, not just that company, their company. Those are the best interview conversations. And they're your opportunity to really prove that you're prepared, you're confident, you're motivated. And finally, and this is really critical, you must find a way in. That means somehow flagging your application. The easiest way is to find a referral. So great, you know somebody. Awesome, you got a referral? Great, they'll refer you to the job. Fantastic. And if you know somebody who's lower level in the food chain of the corporation, say under director, reach out to them before you apply online because sometimes they have referral bonuses. But once you apply online, they're not eligible. So reach out to them first. Will they refer you for the job? Okay, they're going to be thrilled. They're going to want to refer you. They want that extra $250 to $500, right? If you don't know anybody, you can't find anybody to refer you inside, then you want to apply online. And you still want to apply online, by the way, after you get the referral. Sometimes they'll send you a link and then you'll apply online through their link, okay? But if you can't find anybody, then you apply online and then you try to find the hiring manager. You can do a LinkedIn search. So for example, I want to work in marketing and I want to work at the NBA. NBA director marketing. So director is a mid-level job. It's somebody who's usually hiring, and they're usually hiring entry level because they're mid-level. VP is not going to be hiring an entry-level person, most likely, unless it's a very small company. So look for director and try to find somebody who's a director and say, hey, I am up, write the LinkedIn email. You say, I have applied for this role. I think I can bring great value. Remember, it is not about you and what you want. It is about the value you can bring. It's an important reframe. I can bring value to your organization based on the experience that I've gained. Okay. And then send them an email. You might need to actually, upgrade your LinkedIn to be able to send email, but also attach your resume. Even though you've applied online, make it easy for them. Attach your resume as well. Okay. Final thoughts. Most students feel so much pressure to find that right first job. And the truth is, you saw my career. There is no right first job. There isn't. The first job is really it's a beginning, I would say, of a series of experiments. Okay? It's not a life sentence. If you hate the first job, it's okay. So my nephew, he took a job in HR and he hated it. Absolutely hated it. He's now working as a paralegal and he loves it. It's okay. Guess what? It's an experiment, and it's okay if you didn't get the good boss or you found the role that wasn't for you or this is not really it. Go back and look at your values and realign, right? And go through the same process again. Every role, this is the best part though, doesn't matter. Every role teaches you something. Every single role. It teaches you what you want, teaches you what you don't want, teaches you what you're good at, teaches you where you're going to shine. So give yourself permission to learn and adjust and evolve and maybe even get it totally wrong on that first time as an employee. Okay. So your skills are going to compound in every job no matter what. Your small skills are going to be built consistently and they're going to become your biggest professional assets. Everything from communication, reliability, initiative, curiosity, resilience. You don't have to master everything today, you just have to start. Curiosity will absolutely take you further than confidence. Confidence comes after you act, right? So if you're nervous to reach out to somebody and have a conversation, if you're nervous to create a relationship, guess what? The confidence comes after you do the reach out. It doesn't come before. Curiosity, however, that's what's going to move you forward through your whole career, and it will start immediately. It multiplies. So always be open, always ask questions, always explore possibilities, and try new things. When you're sitting at that beach party or you're sitting in somebody's backyard and there's an adult there and the adult works in the field you want, don't let them ask and own the conversation. You own the conversation. Ask them about their job. Ask them what they do every day. Ask them what they love about it. Ask them what they hate about it. Ask them how many people they manage. You own that. Show them how curious you are. And keep in mind that you are competing with other entry-level employees, but you're also not. You're not. Because companies aren't looking for the best student. They're looking for the best fit for their company, the most prepared, the most self-aware, the most engaged, the one who actually cares and wants to work for their company, not just a company. So your uniqueness is a competitive edge. Lean into that. And finally, your first job should help you grow. Okay? It's about expanding your skills, building relationships, discovering what's possible. Momentum matters more than prestige or perfection. If the job moves you forward, helps you learn and gain skills, then guess what? It's the right professional job. It's the right first job. You don't need a perfect path. You just need a direction, a little courage, a little willingness to take that first step. Just keep in mind, at the very end here, your career isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you just to begin. Okay, here's the book. For those of you who want examples of what I discussed today, and there's so much more to your job search, all the different nuances, the details, how to write thank you notes, all that good stuff. Wanted My First Career. It's an investment in yourself for your first job. I do price these things extremely cheap because I want them to be accessible. So the book I think is $15.95. The audiobook, I don't price those. Audible does. I don't know how much it is. The ebook I think is $9.99. So just those $5. So this book also, by the way, it will also help you anytime you're making a change in your career. Yes, I have a book called Wanted, A New Career, but remember, that was the book that started it. This book came from that. So they're close enough. You won't need the other book. So if you need to change careers, don't worry about it. You got it all right here. And you can find it paperbook, ebook, audiobook, all on Amazon. And if you have any questions about that, you can let me know. I'm going to stop share so that you can ask me some questions that
Marlo,
you want to
thank you
ask.
so much for this wonderful presentation. If everyone could help me join in giving Marlo a round of applause, we truly greatly appreciate all of these wonderful
Oh,
tips
thanks,
that
guys.
you had
See all the
shared. And
hands.
I could truly speak on behalf of everyone here that these tips are so crucial and very important to ensure our success and help us create a stepping stone in our future careers that we decide to pursue. So thank you so much again, Marlo.
Thank you.
I did also have some follow-up questions
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you, and I also wanted to open up to the floor as well once I'm done with my questions. So please feel free to write them in the chat, and we will get to them once I conclude my questions.
awesome.
So for the first question I have for you, Marlo, so many students in NSCS balance academics, internships, leadership roles throughout college. And from your book, what strategies do you believe is a significant factor for students managing multiple responsibilities?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is intentionality. You have to be intentional. Like I was saying, when you're in sports, and I have some friends, kids who are in D1 sports, D3 sports, like they don't have time to intern, right? And so you have to be very deliberate with what you're saying yes to and what you're building toward. So the girl that I made those introductions for this week, she's a sophomore. And she's like, well, I want to make sure that my internship this summer builds toward where she wants to be at the end. And so that's super important. It starts with intentionality. And then the second thing I would say is have that skills acquisition mindset, because even if you choose the wrong internship and you say, oh, I hated that, it was horrible, that's fine. You probably gain skills. So you want to think about it as what skills am I gaining from this? And what things can I add to my resume that will be forward looking? So this is super important. You don't need a million internships. You don't. I have told many students, stop interning. You have enough on your resume. There's enough. It's how you position it. It's not who's the busiest, it's who's the most intentional. So choose the commitments that build those skills, and that'll help you move forward.
Thank you so much, Marla. I truly greatly appreciate that. My second question was, how can students leverage service-based experience when pitching themselves to employers in ways that feel neutral and authentic?
Oh yeah, service-based experience, it's super powerful. Um, this is where, when you're in service-based, this is where you stop describing what you did and you start translating what it proves about you. Okay, think about that. It's not what you did, it's what it proves about you. So in the book, I talk about transferring skills from internships, volunteer work, any kind of experiences that you have. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter where you get the skills and the experience. So if you're in a service role that demonstrates to employers you have leadership skills, for example, Vanessa, you're the president of this, right? That's leadership skills, right? Communication skills, empathy and active listening, dependability, resilience, social influence. They're all aligned with what employers need today. They want to see that. And quite frankly, I hear of a lot of employers complaining that a lot of Gen Z doesn't have that. So if you can demonstrate those skills and be authentic in the process, that's how you translate it. So it's not about the problem you saw. You can say, like, here's the problem I saw. Here's what I did to help. Here's what I learned about myself in the process. And here's how I work with others to solve that. And if you think about it, like service leadership, it's really training in disguise. That's what it is, right? You just need to translate it into the employer language.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marlo. My third question was, how does your book address the emotional side of navigating the current job market, especially for first generation and underrepresented students?
Yeah, so the book definitely validates that today's job market does require more than technical ability. It's a tough market. I'm not going to lie. It's better right now than it was all of last year. It's already better. Thank God. Yay. But it does require emotional resilience and flexibility and agility and self awareness. And those are qualities that are going to make you stand out besides the technical knowledge, because all the students are learning about Python. All the students are learning about how to use the Google Suite, right? You need these other things. So when I think about first gen and I think about like underrepresented students in particular, the emotional piece is going to show up. And when I mean it's going to show up, you have to make sure it doesn't show up in negative ways for you. Meaning, rejection might feel personal. You might start feeling imposter syndrome. You might feel pressure to pick the safe path or the path that mom and dad want you to take because it will be stable, right? Or these external expectations might be shaping some of the decisions because you're the first one who went to college. So they want you to be successful, but successful in their minds might not be the same version of successful for you. Again, it goes back to grounding yourself in your values, because your values are going to act like that compass when everything around you feels uncertain. And quite frankly, everyone around you has an opinion on what you should do. Okay. So it's really important that you affirm for yourself that you're not being forced to do something that you don't want because somebody else wants you to do it, because you won't be fulfilled. Because finding the right career is really about building that confidence, and it's one step at a time, one internship at a time. And so take it one step at a time. And when those things do show up, when you start having those negative thoughts, ask if it's serving you. Ask yourself a question: is this thought serving me? And if it's not serving you, say, I'm going to put you over here in the corner. Literally, look at the corner. I'm going to put you over here in the corner, and I'm just going to keep going after what I want.
Absolutely, Marlo. Thank you so much for the reassurance. Greatly appreciate it. My final question was, your book is framed as a support guide for building a fulfilling career. And throughout your overall trajectory, what does fulfilling mean to you?
It's a great question. Um, for me, fulfilling means alignment. And I think that's what the book tries to hopefully gets across is that when your career really reflects who you are and your values and the kind of life you want to build, that's when you find fulfillment. It's not about titles. It's not about money. Yes, those things are important. Don't get me wrong, right? But true fulfillment is really about integrating your core values into your work life. And it leads to genuine happiness and engagement and that long term fulfillment because happiness is fleeting, right? Like you buy the purse and then the purse sits on the shelf and, ooh, that was great in the moment, but it doesn't really bring me fulfillment anymore. Or you're engaged in something for a short period of time. True fulfillment is aligning everything you do intentionally with your core values. And what it's done for me, and hopefully you can see it on my face, most people tell me they can. It's a level of peace and a level of calm and a level of joy in every single day, knowing that I am doing exactly what makes me feel aligned. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have administrative paperwork to do, and there's things I have to do in my career when I'm signing clients and things like that. But generally speaking, I would say 99% of my day is doing work that fulfills me. So it's about building a career that feels like you, aligning with your values, aligning with your strengths, aligning with the impacts that you want to have on the world, on the organization, on your friends, on whatever. And I hope you can see that I have it every single day.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful response, Marlo. Thank you so much. I did want to open it up to the
Great.
audience members
Hmm.
for questions.
Sure.
Um, I believe the first question that I see
Yeah.
is by Nancy Ray.
Go ahead.
She stated that, is it good or bad if you don't show up in a Google search at all when employers are interested in you?
It doesn't matter if you show up in a Google search. They don't do Google searching. And so you don't have to show up in a Google search. What you want to be showing up is in a LinkedIn search, right? And that's when I was giving you some of those tips on how to show up when they do what's called either a Boolean search or a LinkedIn search. And that's using keywords. But Google doesn't matter at all. You do not need a website. I know, look, if you're in marketing, it's good to have a marketing portfolio. Absolutely, right? Because that's something where you would have a portfolio, but you don't need to have a website. Absolutely not. You do not need a website. For any other job that I can think of off the top of my head, I think marketing would be the only one that I can think of that maybe you want to have a portfolio.
Thank you, Marlo. We have another question by Shelby Robarts.
Sure.
She asked, how do you ready yourself with experience in a workforce that requires you to have work experience for entry-level jobs?
Yeah. So again, internships. And remember, nobody's asking you, this is what I want to be really clear. Nobody's asking you how many days a week you worked in that internship. Nobody's asking you. So if you work 2 days a week because you have to work 3 days a week making money, that's okay. You interned. Nobody's asking you whether you were paid in the internship. Nobody's asking. They're just asking the skills you learned. So you want to try to take internships for sure. You definitely volunteer projects, all that whole list that I had, volunteer projects, internships, projects at school are definitely helpful as well. Participating in clubs and things like that, and showing how you can demonstrate that you have the skills. And if you can't get an internship, say you're a freshman, right? It's really hard to get an internship when you're a freshman. I can promise you that one of your parents' friends has a job, has something that you can do for 1 day a week, 2 days a week to get some skills, to get some professional skills. So find that person that can help you, right? Have 1 or 2 days a week doing something for them. Maybe you can just do their social media if you want to be in marketing. Do their social media on LinkedIn, create some Canva posts, things like that. My kids do some of my Canva posts. They go into Canva in my account and they create some of my posts for LinkedIn and things like that. So try to figure out whatever you're interested in, how you can get that little bit of experience, no matter what it is. If you're working at a summer camp, I know some people who do spend all of their summers going back and being a counselor. That's great if you want to be in hospitality. Awesome. But if you want to be in business strategy, unless you're working in the front office of that summer camp, that's not really going to help you as much. It's going to be really hard to find those keywords and those skills that are relevant on your resume when you're looking for business strategy jobs or you're looking for business analyst jobs, unless you're analyzing something. So keep all that in mind. How you're spending your summers matters.
Thank you, Marlo. We have a question from Catherine. This is like a two-part question. She had asked, what are the common red flags that recruiters notice immediately? And then the follow-up was, when writing your resume, how much details is too much?
Yeah, so your resume should be one page. I don't care how many internships you had, how many jobs you've had, one page. You are entry level, one page. So you don't want too much detail. A red flag would be if you have AI create your resume for you 100%, because it's going to look very generic and it's not going to talk about the specifics of what you did. It's going to have very generic statements. So be careful in using AI to create your resume. You can use it to help you, meaning help you formulate a half a sentence here, or what are the keywords or things like that, but you don't want it to create your whole resume for you. Then the next thing is, and this is a big one, when you're interviewing and they ask you about specific things on your resume and you can't give an example, you got a problem. So every single thing, every line on your resume, you need to write yourself down a little example. Oh yeah, that was this project. Remember in the STAR method, right? Of what the project was, what I did, how I did it, how I collaborated, that kind of thing. So those are big red flags. But if you prepare correctly, if you prepare well, you will have no problem.
Thank you, Marlo. We have a question from Alyssa Johnson. Um, the question is, what is an appropriate social media presence for professionals?
Yes, it is not holding a beer can. It is not a low cut shirt. Gentlemen, it is not shirtless. Sorry, it's not. So even if you're on Instagram, you got to clean it up a little bit, right? It's okay if you are dressed up, right? And it's a tighter outfit, that's fine. But just think about, if I'm hiring manager and I want to hire you and you're coming in, I want to know that you're going to dress appropriately in my office. And I can tell you, I've heard there were complaints about this. So I want to know that you know not to wear a belly shirt in the office, right? I shouldn't have to tell you that. Okay. So look at your social media, especially Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is you're doing out there. And if there are certain pictures of you doing things that were super fun with your friends, but maybe send the wrong message to the brand that you're creating, those are things you're going to want to wipe. You're going to want to take off because they will look. They will look, absolutely. You can also make it private. They can't demand that you open it necessarily, but you can make it private. A lot of people don't like to do that. And your LinkedIn obviously needs to have that professional picture.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Oh,
Marlo.
by the way, it's not just pictures, it's also comments. Be careful. I've seen people have racist comments. I've seen derogatory comments. I've seen cursing. People have had offers rescinded. Be careful.
Our next question is from Cornelio. Do you have any advice? They stated that they are trying to move up in their current company that they are working at.
Oh, great. Good for you. So current company that you're working at, I don't have more details on whether you're trying to move up, move to a different part of the company. If you're moving to a different part of the company, then it's networking over there and asking for what's called stretch assignments, where you go over to that other part of the company and say, hey, I'm doing a really good job over here. I really eventually want to work for you guys. Do you have maybe a stretch assignment that I could either shadow on or help with? Right? To try to build those relationships. If you want to move up in your current job, so there's two ways you can move up in a current job. One is, two things are necessary. One is there has to be a business need. There has to be a business need to need the next level job of what you're doing, right? And there has to be budget. Unfortunately, right now, both of those are very difficult. Okay. That being said, what you can do is you can start demonstrating, and I have a post. Do I have a post coming out on this? I might have a post. If you go through my posts on how to look at the next level, I know what I have. I have a podcast. If you go to the Work Unscripted podcast, I think one of them releases tomorrow actually. But there's on how to move up in different levels, right? And what you need to demonstrate. So when you're early career, you're really just, people are giving you work to do and you're just doing it. But when you're next level, right? After that, when you're moving up, then you're like, oh, I've got that. and you're doing proactive communication, letting people know how the work is going. You're not just waiting for them to come ask you. You're switching how you work in a way that shows that you're working at the next level. So it's not about asking for the promotion, it's demonstrating that you're working at the next level and then talking to your manager and saying, here are the things that I've been working on. What else should I be working on to demonstrate I'm at the next level? So that's how you move up in a company. That's going to probably be my next book, Wanted a Promotion. Maybe, we'll see.
That's actually pretty good. I would love to read that. Um, we have a question from Joshua Davis. How detailed does your resume and cover letter have to be when you are inexperienced?
Cover letter does not. Nobody reads them. Literally, they're not even, by the way, there's no hiring manager that ever sees them. They're separated in the applicant tracking system. Nobody even gets them. However, you still, if it requires one, you should write it. 3 paragraphs tops. The first one is, I'm very interested in this job, right? I can bring great value. The second paragraph is, here's some of my experience, or here's what's unique about me, right? That's not on my resume, right? Because anybody can read your resume, but here's what's unique about me. And third paragraph is, thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you more about how I can bring value to the company. Super short. Okay. And resume, did you ask resume as well? Or just cover
Yes,
letter?
resume as well, yes.
Yeah, you need to be detailed enough to show that you have the skills related to the job description that you're applying for, right? That's what it boils down to. If you have 3/4 of a page, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a full page. Um, if you can put some extra spaces in and make it a full page, that's fine. But it's really about it's the quality, not the quantity. The quality of how many skills and what experience you have, that's what's important.
Thank you, Marlo. We have a question from Ozma. Would all of these tips apply if you're applying for an online job as well?
Yes.
And her second question as a follow-up, what would what would you say the number one advice for networking and building up the resume for online students would be?
Yeah, so online, whether you're going to work online, you're going to work in person, I highly recommend trying to work in person your first job at least, or at least hybrid, because that's where you build relationships much easier and onboarding's easier and you get the feel for working in a corporate environment if you're going to work in corporate. Um, so I do recommend that, but same exact tips online or whether you're going to be working in person. And what was this? I'm sorry, the second part of the question was?
How would this apply for online students?
Yeah, it's all directly applicable. It doesn't matter whether you're online or not. And by the way, you don't have to write online student on your resume because nobody knows. I mean, not that nobody knows, but it doesn't matter. Did you get the degree? Yeah, you got the degree. Where'd you get the degree from? You got it from this school. That's it. You don't have to tell anybody you did online. Not that that's a bad thing, but you don't have to highlight that in any way, shape, or form.
We have another question from Brittany Lloyd. How do you qualify your resume information if you didn't measure the data during your employment? So in other words,
Yeah.
if you can't put a number to the growth or improvement you made after.
Great question. Really hard to put data numbers down on what you've done. You can use the words like significantly improved, and the things that you did look at beforehand, right? And the things you looked at afterwards, even if there's not numbers to it when you're telling the story. You may not have data numbers. That's okay. You don't need data numbers. Entry-level jobs don't really need that. But keep that in mind as you're moving up in your career, right? That you want to make sure you can quantify things as best you can. But if you've improved things like 50% or 20%, or they became more efficient, even just more efficient, if you're in business operations, because there were less questions being asked and there were less mistakes being made, that's fine.
Thank you, Marlo. Just wanted to let you know that there's 2 minutes left. So if anyone has
Okay.
any other additional comments, please feel free to add them in. Um, we have three more questions at the moment.
Okay.
So I will
Go ahead.
read those three. We have a question from Dynasty. What advice can you give to a senior entrepreneurship major music minor that ultimately wants to be an entrepreneur, but first desires to find a postgraduate opportunity that will align with the desired skills and finance?
Find a finance job in a startup. Find a startup company, right? and they're looking for somebody with some finance skills, and see if you can get in the finance department. Roku was a startup when I got there. It was 400 people. It's about 3,500 now, 4,000 people. But you will get more experience in a startup than a big corporation. So if anybody wants to really get their feet wet doing all sorts of things and trying all different things, go work at a startup. And there are lots of startups out there. And that will help you with the entrepreneur part, because you'll understand how people are wearing so many different hats, doing so many different things. So that would be my number one piece of advice for an entrepreneur.
Thank you,
Congrats on that. I can't wait to see what you build.
Mary. We have a question from Brooke. They stated that how important is it to actually have a LinkedIn? And they stated that it isn't very common, or a lot of people don't really like emphasize having a LinkedIn. So what are the like
Yeah.
important factors
So I
regarding?
know a lot of schools use Handshake, or what is it, 1020 or 20 something. I forget what it's called. It is very important to have a LinkedIn. It is very, very important to have a LinkedIn site. You don't have to be active. I do recommend, like, if you read the book, it's about commenting. Like, I do recommend commenting on other people's posts on LinkedIn. Not like, oh, that resonates, but like really something that might advance the conversation. Or I'm a student and that's really interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. Something, right? But it's super important to have a LinkedIn, because honestly, yes, employers do use Handshake, but some use Handshake and some use, some are registered with the other one, 1020, I forget what it's called. So LinkedIn is the place where a lot of the jobs are posted. So what you're going to find on Handshake is also going to be posted on LinkedIn. It just is. So I don't mean to poo-poo the whole Handshake thing. I actually know the head of strategy there, but or poo-poo the other companies that are their competitors. But you do need a LinkedIn profile. And honestly, you can just go to mine, say, how should I set it up? Look at mine, mimic it. You know, these are the different elements that I need.
Absolutely. Our final question of the night is from Joshua. What skills, work habits, and personal qualities most often set students apart when it comes to a strong feedback recommendation and early career success across different fields?
Whoa, whoa, one more time. Sorry.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead, read that again.
Which skills, work habits, and personal qualities most often set
Ah,
students apart
set students
when
apart. Okay.
it comes to strong feedback and recommendation from early career success across different fields?
Okay. So the most important thing, number one, is critical thinking. Because if you're using AI, you need to know critical thinking, whether it's hallucinating on you, right? Or whether or not it's giving you real things that actually are true, right? So critical thinking is number one. Communication is number two. Proactive communication, where you know how to proactively communicate with different people across different parts of the company. So that would be number two. Stakeholder alignment is another big one, but wouldn't expect you to know how to do that as an entry level employee. That's where you take three different people who are trying to all do the same thing. And by the way, stakeholder alignment is, say you have a school project, right? And there's four of you and you have four different ideas, right? To how we're going to do this project. And you align everybody toward one idea. That's stakeholder alignment. Okay. You're getting everybody aligned toward one direction. That's super important as well. I would say those are the three biggest or four biggest. I could also say, let me think really quick. Communication, critical thinking. Yeah, I would say those are the biggest. And then I would say emotional intelligence. So that's self-awareness, right? If you're somebody who every time somebody gives you feedback, you feel really bad about yourself, like, right? And that's something you might find maybe in neurodivergent students, where they might have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, things like that. So having self-awareness, hey, I'm not going to feel good during this conversation because they're going to give me some feedback and they're going to ask me to pivot and it's not going to feel good. But being able to hold that feedback and kind of thinking to yourself, okay, it doesn't mean that I'm a horrible person. It just means I need to pivot a little bit, and being able to make adjustments from feedback. So receiving feedback is probably the last one I would say. And what you would say is actioning feedback is how I would put that. Taking feedback and being able to action off of that and pivoting off of that, huge, huge for entry level employees. Not taking it personally, realizing it's business and somebody's helping you. They're giving you a gift of trying to help you be the best person that you can be in that role. Not you human. It's about the behavior, not the person. That's what I tell my kids, not the behavior, not the person. Okay. So if you can action feedback and pivot quickly, you're golden. You're absolutely golden. And that will be recognized because they'll see it.
Absolutely agree with you, Marlo. Thank you so much again. We are so grateful for your time. Everyone, can you please give me one more round of applause for Marlo? It was
Thank
truly an
you.
honor and a privilege to have you here. And we truly greatly appreciate all the tips and advice that you had shared for all of us. And we're so honored to have you. Thank you,
Thank
Marlo.
you. And when you build your LinkedIn profiles, feel free to connect and say hi. Tell me you were on this. We'd love to hear from you. Okay. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone, for joining. I hope you all have a great night. Take care, everyone.